Post. So The Post is directed by Steven Spielberg, stars Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Bob Odenkirk was in it, he was really good too. It takes place in the early 1970s, and essentially there were these documents, these top secret documents that chronicled the US's involvement in the Vietnam War. Sounds like the documents show some shady business. It was all kept from the American people, but the press have a duty to inform the people. So the New York Times gets a hold of it and they run it. Then Tricky Dicky sues them. So then the Washington Post gets the rest of the documents and they're like, should we run the story? Should we not? Will we get in trouble too? What is journalistic integrity? Do I really have to talk about how good Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks are in this review? What, am I gonna shock you? Like, guys, they're really good. Wow, how crazy is that? But this movie is, if I had to choose a word, informative. It's a very informative movie about a thing that happened in time. Some people already knew the story, a lot of people didn't. I didn't. So I thought it was an interesting story to learn about, not done in the most interesting way. I'm saying nobody is ever gonna be like, all right, I want to watch a movie. Do you want to watch a movie? Great. Oh, dude, if you want to watch a movie, have you seen The Post? Treat yourself. I really don't see that happening. I've used this comparison before, but The Post reminds me of one of those movies where if you're in history class in junior high or high school and you possibly run across this chapter, the teacher will play a movie to show you kind of the situation that was happening. The Post will be that movie. It's one of those played in the classrooms to educate the class kind of movies. I do get the movie's importance. I mean, let's face it, this movie was made because of "You're so wrong, fake news." I mean, it totally is. It's the reason this movie was made. Pretty sure Spielberg fast-tracked it to get to this Oscar season and not waiting for the next one, because who knows if that dude's gonna be president still? No one knows. But as we have seen a resurgence of the US government versus news, it's an important movie to do now. I feel like this movie would have benefited from being a thriller. Like those John Grisham stories, this would have been a good John Grisham story. I'm not saying I need a fucking chase sequence or anything like that, but there's a difference between informing the audience and making them feel it. Movie just didn't do that. Like there's a scene, I sat up in my seat, I was like, all right, a courtroom scene. Those are always intense. That is your ace in the hole for the climax of this movie. But nope, they're like, all rise, and then they leave. They're like, well, that was court. Oh, I guess it was. If 35mm film was still the norm, I would be like, there was a reel missing. This movie doesn't really have a moment like that. That moment in the third act that just impacts you and leaves you thinking about this movie. It's an informative movie of action and consequences that results in a series of events that leads from the beginning to the end of the film. And then the film's over. Because in the end, as an educational piece, I actually really did enjoy this movie and the performances were top notch. If you're interested in that element of it, the historical element of it, the spotlight it casts on the premise of the government not liking the press just isn't a new thing. Round and round we go. That's the wheel. I give it props for that. I know it feels like I started in on this movie more than I intended to. I guess it's easier to address what you didn't like about a movie than what you did sometimes. Especially when the movie's a drama going for an Oscar, clearly, and that's it. Giving credit where credit's due, the movie is a very well-made period piece. The period being early 1970s. But if Spielberg had amped up the tension level and made you feel the gravity of the situation in this scenario about this newspaper company that's going to take on their government, this could have been one of the best movies of the year. Regardless, The Post is well-made educational Oscar bait, no alcohol required. Alright guys, so The Post, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.